17 countries will compete in the second semi-final of Eurovision 2015, but only 10 can make it to the final. We're running a poll on wiwibloggs asking you to vote for your favorite, and so far in 2 days, we have collected 7,356 votes. Based on these results, here are your 10 qualifiers. Ireland, Sweden, Slovenia, Azerbaijan, Malta, Norway, Israel, Portugal, Latvia, and Iceland. So according to our results, the countries that will not advance to the final are Poland, Lithuania, Czech Republic, Switzerland, Montenegro, Cyprus, and San Marino. Josh, who do you think is going to qualify? Do our readers have it right?
I think the readers have maybe 8 out of 10 correct. I would personally swap Ireland and Portugal with the Czech Republic and maybe Lithuania. I think Lithuania's starting position in the second semi-final might hurt them a bit, but I like the song and I'd rather see that qualify over Ireland and Portugal myself. But that's just my personal opinion.
Kristen?
I think it's rather spot on, but like Josh, I would swap Portugal and Ireland for Lithuania and Montenegro.
Yeah, I think they're accurate, except Molly definitely shouldn't be on top. I think if she is qualified, she would be in 10th place, possibly. So I'd take her out. I'd definitely take Portugal out. I think it's far too forgettable. I don't think the voters are going to pick it up, and it's not special enough for the juries to get behind it. So then, instead, I think Lithuania, because they've qualified easily with far worse songs, and Attention last year wasn't far off from qualifying itself, and that was awful. So I think this time is safe. And then I think the 10th spot could be a battle between Switzerland and possibly Montenegro. And maybe Cyprus could be a dark horse.
I think Poland is going to sneak through. Her live vocals are really strong. And I honestly think that when people see her in the wheelchair, they'll be touched because the lyrics fit with her personal story of having to kind of overcome difficulties, you know, building bridges, all that. I really think people need to watch Poland. Thoughts?
But the only thing about Poland is up until last year, they didn't have a great qualifying record, and they weren't very vote friendly because, well, I suppose you could put that down to the quality of their previous songs. But last year they had the novelty and the boobs and the milk churning and the butter churning. And
they had a lot of boobs.
Yeah, Monica's got 2 boobs as well. I don't know if she's going to pull them out, but you know, she's a pretty lady.
I don't think she's going to churn butter.
Yeah, and her song is a lot less memorable. And I don't know. See, it all depends how tasteful they are with the wheelchair, because sometimes it could be something very subtle that you'd barely even notice it. But
yeah, and she certainly has a good starting order. Going last is always good. And I think that, you know, showing her and seeing her story right before the voting will have an impact on voters. That's why I think we just shouldn't count her out. On Ireland winning our poll, something clearly happened because, as Porrick has pointed out, in our poll for Ireland's national selection, she didn't even do that well. But suddenly she's winning the semi-final poll. It's a bit curious.
Yeah, she came 4th in our Irish national final poll, so I don't know where all her fans are, and I think currently she has more votes than were cast in the Ireland poll, or close to. So I think we have someone who's a bit too eager to vote and too much time.
Because it does take a lot of work to like hack the poll. You have to clear do all sorts of stuff, which I won't reveal. In any event, Ireland, I think, could be a borderline qualifier. Like, this song is very jury-friendly. She's got a great voice, and I think Kristen even quite likes the song.
Yeah, I like her. Maybe not, you know, qualifying like her, but I wouldn't be that surprised if she did. She has that less is more fetus going on.
I think at best it's a borderline qualifier. I can't see it coming any higher than 8th, maybe in the semi-final, and 8th would be... I think 10th, realistically, if it is to qualify. Because there's not that many voters in this semi that are kind towards Ireland. The UK are in this semi, they usually give us a few points. But Ireland always benefit from Denmark. Denmark aren't there this year. So I don't think there's enough working in her favour to push her over the line.
the starting position in the semi-final is going to hurt her a bit too. I think being second is never really favourable for any artist. I think back to Mai from Israel last year, and her song I thought was amazing, and that second spot in the semi-final last year destroyed her chances at making the finals. So I think that's going to be a huge detriment to Molly making the final this year as well.
May was robbed.
Absolutely. Speaking of Israel, this second semi-final this year, there are a lot of smaller countries that in the past haven't always had much luck, but this year some of them are going to get through, and our readers think Israel's Nadav is one of them. How do you rate his chances?
I think his song really stands out in a field of dull ballads, but my only issue is that the whole Israel tag. It's a bit like Russia, that people are nearly see the Israel tag and they're like automatically, I won't vote for that. And then Israel don't have the benefit of the huge diaspora scattered all over the place like Russia. And their diaspora probably aren't quite as rabid when it comes to voting. But I think his song is unique enough to get through.
The booty shake number.
I quite like how it's cheeky, but at the same time a good song. Because, sometimes people go cheeky and playful and it becomes a joke, like Henri Jakadze from Georgia a few years back, whereas this is, like, silly but amazing. And even the fact that he references, that's 3 minutes, time's up, it's like, it's self-aware in a good way. And I think he's more likable than previous contestants. Like, I love May Feingold, I love Moran Mazur, but on stage, like, Moran was wailing, maybe doesn't turn people on instantly. And May's song, she had to be this fierce, might scare some people. Whereas he's all like, just fun and warm.
I'm a golden boy.
Yes.
And then he appeals to teenage girls, and they're always the most eager to pick up the phones and vote.
And Kristen, you're in Iceland. Our readers have Maria down as a borderline qualifier, which surprises me. Where would you rate her?
I would rate her 5th, maybe. If she drops the, fairy look and goes for something a little more mature. I mean, it's a little bit too much of Emily de Forest. Just, dancing bare feet and has this, fairy dress on, and that's putting a lot of even Icelanders off. But we still love our girl and we're going to root her, all the way. But the outfit has to change.
Josh.
She's 22. She's not 12.
I personally love Iceland's song this year. I think 5th would be an absolute minimum for them in this semi-final. I think the only struggle that Iceland will face is the fact that they're sandwiched between Azerbaijan and Sweden, which are, again, two very strong songs. There's a whole block there. There's a whole block there in that second semi-final that are all quite strong, kind of starting, I would say, at Czech Republic and moving through down to Sweden. That kind of 8th through 13th block is all quite strong, and Iceland's right in the middle of that. So I think that'll be the only maybe downfall, but I still think it's a strong enough song for it to easily qualify.
I mean, if Polapek got through, we never thought for a minute that it would. Why wouldn't Maria go through?
Yeah,
it's a
y'all
great
have
song.
An amazing ability. I remember even in 2011, people wrote off Sony's Friends, and then they were the last one called. I think the luck will continue. Porrick, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think she's much better than a borderline qualifier. I think she's mid-table. Personally, I'd have her higher, but just looking at the other countries, I think there's a few others that are likely to get the first few spots, but I think she's safe.
And I want to bring up Latvia's Aminata Savadogo. Latvia has obviously struggled. They've not made the final since 2008, but there's a lot of hype building around her. Our readers have her ranked rather low. I think that's unfair. I personally think she could win this semifinal.
I don't know. I think she's very different. I'm quite a fan of her, but I think she's potential to sweep up a lot of jury points. But then when it comes to the public, I don't know if the public would get behind her, because they might in the way they got behind Margaret Berger. But I think Aminata is nearly even more left field than Margaret was.
It's definitely a modern song, and I think that may not read quite well across to a broad audience. Like Margaret Berger, when she sang her song in 2013, that was very current. That was what was on the radio at the time. A lot of people kind of knew that style of music. Whereas I think, Aminata's kind of kind of gone on a tangent, like stayed on that same level, but kind of done her own thing with that style of music. And whilst I love it, I think it's amazing. I don't know if everyone else is gonna quite eat it up like I do.
And in the past, Latvia has not gotten much love from former Soviet republics. But even with that, I think she would perform better in the final with all of her neighbors than she would in this semifinal, where it's a much more Western affair. In any event, the other leaders in our poll are Sweden, Slovenia, Azerbaijan, Malta. I'm curious, do you think any of them will win? If not, who do you think will win this semifinal?
Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden, or I'm gonna say Azerbaijan. Sweden or...
I'm going to go... I would say Sweden or Slovenia. I think the running order has been set up for either of those two songs to shine. So, and I love Slovenia. It's number 1 on my top 40 list. So I'd love to see them win, but I think it'll be Sweden.
I feel like it's going to be Azerbaijan. I just have this feel... I mean, I love Slovenia, Azerbaijan, and then I quite like Sweden. So I would rate Sweden maybe 3rd or 4th in my top 17. But Azerbaijan, it's so jury-friendly, it's so different, he's amazing, he won the Voice of Turkey, the Turkish diaspora, and all these countries will be voting for him. I just feel like he has so much going for him.
I don't think Malta will be that high when it comes to the final results. I think Malta could be borderline.
Really? Do you think she'll go through to the final, though? Or...
I think she'll get through to the final, but she'll get 9th or 10th. Because I don't know, there's so many other songs ahead of her. I think it's just because she's so early, she's kind of become a fan favourite. Because I think for people looking at I think for people looking at it for the first time and for jurors, she won't have the same appeal.
She doesn't stand out like Nina Subladi does.
Right. She needs to tattoo something on her body. So you guys, let's now look at the bottom of our poll. I'm just curious, of these small countries that often struggle to qualify, which do you think has the best shot? Bringing up the back right now, it's Czech Republic, Switzerland, Montenegro, Cyprus, and San Marino.
I think Montenegro has the best shot of going through.
Why is that?
Because, it's the BBF thing going on, Balkan ballad fetish. And isn't Jelko also, writing the song? That could, he has a lot of fans. A lot. Porrig is number 1.
But Montenegro doesn't have any neighbors really in this semifinal. I mean, I guess they have Slovenia, which is kind of close, but beyond that...
See, I think they've just been lazy and they've just copied last year's formula and come back with a lesser song. And I wasn't even a fan of them last year. But I think they could be borderline qualifier just based on the Balkan ballad factor that Kristen said. I think Cyprus could be a really dark horse because people have been writing it off for months now, but there's something about it that kind of like the common linnets that it kind of, you're saying, oh, there's nothing happens, but then it still kind of sticks in your mind after you've heard it. And depending on the staging, it could be very effective. Switzerland could be borderline as well.
I think Giannis will have this, low-key staging.
Yeah.
Just like
remember Tom Dice?
Yeah. Will he have a guitar? That would just be copying. But
I'm
I don't think
personally rooting... Sorry, Kristen.
Traffic jam. Josh, you go.
Yeah. Australia is a bigger country. And a continent. You go.
I was just going to say, I'm personally rooting for Czech Republic. I'd love to see them qualify for the first time. The song itself is actually not bad. I don't hate it. I think live, Mata and Vaclav could be quite good. But we'll see. I'm hopeful because I think if Czech Republic at least qualified, then we might see them back again next year, and maybe that will bring Slovakia back too. The more the merrier.
Yeah, but see, there's a thing about I'd like to see them qualify too, but not for the sake of it. And the song belongs back in the history books. It's just so awful and dated, and I can't stand it, and I would be very sad if it qualifies.
But it's their best entry ever.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not really hard, but I know, but still. I kind of like it. I think it's a nice duet, and they have a strong voice. Oh, don't be hating.
You know, of these bottom acts, I really feel that Cyprus and Switzerland are the ones to watch. Pork, I totally agree with what he said about Cyprus. That song is very pleasant, like, which is more than I can say about a lot of these other entries. And Switzerland, she's gonna get a lot of jury votes, y'all. She can sing, and now that they've gotten rid of that horrible guitar riff, it doesn't sound as dated. It's much more now. I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but to me that song starts off with like a Lorde-esque vibe. There's something dark, like, not to the extent of Belgium's, but like, there's something that's very current. I think Switzerland will go through, just based on her talent alone.
And I think she benefits a bit since they've seemed to have taken, in Malta, they seem to have taken Warrior and sprinkled it with daisies and removed a lot of the kind of darker vibes from it. And it's much more pleasant, like not pleasant as in pleasant to listen to, but it seems a lot less darker. It's brighter sort of song than it was before. And I think Malta nearly loses out that impact. And Melanie still has the bit of darkness in her song.
Yes, let it shine by turning off the light. Go dark, girl, go dark.
Yeah, so the Chain of Lights from San Marino, that doesn't stand a chance, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you know, I gotta say, this is not my favorite effort from Ralph Siegel.
No, Mr. Siegel needs to take a time out.
I actually think, and I wasn't a fan of the Peppermints, I actually think both their junior Eurovision efforts were better.
Completely agree. It's a shame, too, because I think the performers, Anita and Michaela, are quite charming, and like with the right song they could have done well with something more High School Musical. Instead, we've given them Nursing Home Social. It's just, I can't stand by this.
There's nothing going on there at all. I can't remember this song for the sake of everything that is holy. I listened to it and it's gone. It's just, I think they will be the forgettable ones. I even think Portugal will do better than them.